Good morning. Wow. Good morning, my friends. It's so great to be here today, and especially with all these wonderful birthdays. Two of my favorite birthday girls today. I'm so delighted to be here and celebrate with everyone. And God's timing and words are always perfect, because the first words I have here are, I was at my friend Eric's birthday party last week. So I noticed a social trend at the birthday party though that I want to share with you this morning. Eric and his wife live out in California, so it was a reunion of good friends as well as a celebration, and all of us about that certain age, entering our 60s and 70s. And a lot of us had not been together in quite a while. So with each new person or couple as they walked in, I overheard people comment how well everyone was looking. I heard things like, "Girl, you look good. Gosh, he looks terrific, doesn't he? He never changes a bit. Wow, she looks fabulous." So over a glass of wine, I was discussing this with my friend Evelyn, who is 83 and a very active choir member. "Wow, it's a gorgeous group that's here tonight, isn't it?" I said. And as a longtime truth student, Evelyn said, "It's God. It's the beauty of the Spirit that comes when we know God. Not really a change of the flesh, but a fire in the heart." Well, our theme for the month of August is vitality, and I thought it might be fun to look at vitality in that way, as a beauty of spirit that comes when we know God, and as that fire in our heart. Now, if we look at the synonyms for vitality, spirit could easily be described by each one of them. There's liveliness and sparkle and zeal and passion and fire. For some, these might be unusual choices to describe God within. They're not like little baby words like piety or patience or peace. These are muscular words of spirit, that spirit that animates all of us. Words like sparkle and fire help me conjure up the faces of the people I know that have a real twinkle in their eyes and a smile on their faces, and who are busy every day sharing their good with the world, like my friend Evelyn, and like my many friends here at New Thought Spiritual Center. So this morning I want us to explore where our powerful vitality comes from, and the thing that we're calling today our God spark. As children of God, I think that we can appreciate that our God spark of vitality is everlasting. It was there before we were born, as my mom used to say, before you were a twinkle in your daddy's eye. And I would say it continues well after our expiration date on our human bodies. It's amazing to me to think that spirit within us is ageless and eternal. As my physical body has gotten a little older, some mornings it really helps me to remember that my truest self, my God spark within, will never flicker or burn out. So how do we recognize each other as God sparks within this community? Well, first of all, we look into each other's eyes. When I first moved to New York City, people cautioned me not to make eye contact on the street. I'm so glad that I got over that, and that I'm right here, right now, with all of you where it's safe. How do we see our Sunday morning greetings to each other when we look into each other's eyes? I like to think of it as the Eastern Long Island version of Namaste, that wonderful Hindu traditional phrase that says, "I behold the Christ Spirit in you," or "the Spirit in me salutes the Spirit in you." Simply by showing up today, we're fulfilling a divine appointment to see and encourage the God spark in each other and to sense our oneness with God. It animates us to trust each other and to look into the eyes of another and see God looking back. So why is the God spark a little easier to see in some than others? Well, throughout the many traditions that I've studied, New Thought and Unity, Science of Mind, and Course in Miracles, all of them are populated by seekers. And I think as we all grew up and recognized we are spiritual seekers, we probably spent a lot of time looking outside of ourselves for the answers to our spiritual questions. In time, though, thank goodness, our paths did cross with someone who handed us a daily word, or who told us about Ernest Holmes, or who took us by the hand and led us right through the door of the New Thought Spiritual Center. We walked in and we sat down, and we knew we were home, we were safe, and that all around us were fellow spiritual seekers, God sparks, where we recognized our spiritual kin. So now that we're here, how do we fan that God spark of our vitality? When our vitality is operating at its highest vibration, we see it evidenced by what Deepak Chopra calls the 3 pillars of our wisdom: our mind, our body, and our spirit. Now, there are so many ways that mind, body, and spirit overlap and intertwine, it sort of made me think of spiritual spaghetti. But I want us to kind of tease those strands apart a little bit and see really how it fits together. So we're going to start with vitality of mind. In New Thought and as in Unity, we recognize that we can change our lives when we change our minds, our way of thinking. Romans 12:2 says, "Be not conformed to this world, be ye transformed by the renewing of your mind." The creative power of thought allows us to co-create our lives with God. Our thoughts become our lives. And we can take responsibility for choosing life-affirming thoughts and words and actions to experience a more abundant life. And we can keep our minds active by seeking out intellectual challenges. We can go to lectures and read, or reach out and remember to engage with each other. Don't isolate. Remain open and interested in all kinds of people and ready to embrace change every day. The New York Times article last week reminded me that I need to choose to rest my mind on occasion. Writer Daniel Levitin reminded me that when we take time off for vacation, we really have to take a vacation from information. Every day we stand under that waterfall of information from Twitter and CNN and talk radio, and we're stealing our resources for focus and productivity. Our downtime has to include some time for pure daydreaming, which our writer reminds us leads to increased creativity and actually enhances our ability to change the world by changing our minds. So what about vitality of body? Our wonderful, amazing human bodies are the special containers that express the perfection of God to the outer world, for we are created in the image and likeness of God. Unity co-founder Myrtle Fillmore worked hard to live up to that teaching as she spoke loving words to her body to encourage healing from tuberculosis. Way back in the 1880s, when Myrtle received her diagnosis, tuberculosis was a death sentence, and she was given 2 years to live. But she didn't accept it. Instead, she declared every day, "I am a child of God, and therefore I do not inherit sickness." And over time, she was healed of tuberculosis. Of course, to maintain our physical vitality, we must take care of our bodies. So if you've been putting off that annual physical, I want you to make that call on Monday morning. And if you are full of abundant, robust health today, take a moment right now and thank God. Don't wait until you're tired and sick and weak to affirm your health. Next time you're exuberant and feeling those wonderful life sensations like your heart beating after you've been moving around quickly, or you sneeze, take a moment and thank God. And thank God for your lungs and your tiny little cells that are good and strong and doing well. We choose those moments to become fully aware and appreciate that God spark that's in our body. So what about vitality of spirit? How do we stir up the sparks of spirit in ourselves every day? Well, if God is love, then the spark of spirit is propelled by love, and our first directive should be love one another. And as we give of ourselves, that love energy splashes right back on us, and we feel joy. And when our hearts feel joy, our bodies can't help but feel strength, and our minds are filled with creativity. See that spaghetti working there? Some mornings, I just get up though and I feel like my vitality has gone on hiatus. But thankfully we know what to do and we know how to do it. We take a moment and we go within and we center ourselves. We know that when we go within, Spirit is always waiting there to revive us. And if you're feeling a little down this morning, thank God. It's Sunday morning, and you can come here to fill up the well in this community. We don't have to pretend to feel great with our friends here. We know that we're surrounded with love and support from all directions. We're in exactly the right place this morning. So how does Spirit live beyond our physical world? I saw a wonderful TED Talk a couple of weeks ago by Doris Kearns Goodwin, who's an expert on the American presidents, Abraham Lincoln, Lyndon Johnson, and all the Roosevelts. So she told a story about Lincoln, who wanted to accomplish something worthy enough in his life so he could make the world a little better for his having lived in it. She said that in one particularly tragic part of Lincoln's life, he was so sad that his friends feared he might take his own life. But this God spark, his desire to leave the world a better place, spurred him on to rise up and try again. He refused to succumb to the way his life appeared to be at that moment, and he carried on. And of course, he's still one of the most highly regarded of the American presidents. As Ernest Hemingway said, many of us are broken by life, and some of us become stronger in the broken places. Of course, it's not possible today to relate that story or even say the word vitality without bringing Robin Williams to mind. Such a genius and such a wild heart, burning with drive and passion and pathos. It was fantastic this week to see people coming out of the woodwork, not only to praise his comedic talents, but to praise his gentle nature and the anonymous kindnesses that he did all over the place. The news of his death really saddened a lot of us, and I think it made me remember other friends I've lost over the years. And with these friends, as with Robin Williams, I particularly mourn because I felt I just didn't have enough time on earth with them. But do we ever have enough time on earth with the people we love? Of course not. And that's where Spirit comes in, where the divine God spark never dies. When we are brought together with a friend or a loved one that we recognize as a kindred spirit, as someone who we share a soul connection with, no matter when they make transition, thank God, their God spark continues to live on in the love in our hearts. There is no separation in spirit. I believe it's God's grace that allows us to be reminded of our loved ones on occasion, those who've gone before. I know every time my wind chimes ring at home, I see my sister Joyce and imagine her swinging on the porch swing. And every time we see Mrs. Doubtfire dancing with the vacuum cleaner in the movie, I love that part. We're going to see that funny face, that fire of Robin Williams. Perhaps our takeaway message this morning is to treasure all the areas of our vitality and to be responsible right now for the God spark that we will leave behind us. I believe we are blessed with God's spark not because we are God's children. We are all here by divine appointment for a special purpose on earth. We're going to close our time this morning with a few words from a wonderful poem by Teresa of Avila. And I hope these words will inspire you in the coming week to use every part of your vitality, your God spark, to spread love and joy in your own unique and amazing way. As Teresa says, Christ has no body but yours, no hands, no feet on earth but yours. Yours are the eyes with which he looks compassion on the world. Yours are the feet with which he walks to do good. Christ has no body now on earth but yours. And so it is. Amen.